Today we are going to do an artistic self-portrait. Hello and welcome everyone. This is Amrita Bordike and I have an expert today who is going to walk us through it. And I have my friend joining us, Nani Satsi, and she does these gorgeous, absolutely beautiful ephemeral self-portraits. I'm in love with them. I adore them. And today I asked her if she could help me style and shoot this beautiful self-portrait. So excited about this, really nervous because not my style at all. And I'm going to link up Nani's Instagram down in the description below, and it's going to show up on the screen too, and go check out her beautiful photographs because she does really awesome work. So let's get started. We're going to walk you through the set, the background, the camera settings, and the clothing, everything. She's gonna walk us through everything and tell us how we can take these beautiful artistic type of self-portraits. So let's get started. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was the set. I want to show you how the current set looks like. We have lowered the shade to just this small sliver of light, which I have used one of my diffusion materials. It's just a simple Georgette cloth that I have that I bought at, I think it was Hobby Lobby or Michael's, one of them. And it's just like a simple fabric which is see-through, is white in color. Make sure there are no tints on it so you won't get any tints in your image. And I've just used clamps. You can see these clamps that I have used to hook it up to the blinds. And all I want is this small sliver of light. So Noni has told us that she wants a very small portion of the set lit. That looks a lot brighter right now because I also have a light behind me that is lighting me, but we'll turn it off when we are going to shoot the actual image. So the first thing we want to think about is the backdrop. So Noni, can you walk us through how we have set up the background and the props that we're using through the shot?
Sure. If you're looking for a similar type of artistic portrait where it's more like a chiaroscuro style, which is mostly that isolated side light, you want to make sure that your backdrop, it doesn't have to be black, but something that's really dark. The side light is, if you don't have shades that come down like this, you want to have shades that actually close so that you only get that sliver of light. So that's perfect. And
we also have this black foam board that we're going to use to narrow down the light even further. Noni, can you actually talk a little bit about the mode of lighting you just mentioned?
The chiaroscuro style is a style of side light that came back in during the Renaissance, and actually the Dutch masters were famous for it. But it's actually isolating the light so that there's only amount of the subject in focus and it's illuminated by that light only, and everything else kind of falls out into the darkness. So it's actually allowing for just a smidgen of your subject to be in, beautiful illuminating light while everything just falls away. So
you don't actually need the whole room to be too dark. And this creates that beautiful dark and moody type of image that you all love and are trying to create. When you shoot for the highlights, right? That's what you're doing. When you set your exposure for the highlights, the rest of the image becomes a lot darker and you're only focusing on the part of the image that is highlighted by the small sliver of light. So it's going to be a lot of fun to create. And that's how we have set the background. We have this 5-in-1 reflector that is, I think it's like 7 feet tall. It's a huge 5-in-1 reflector that I have. I've just put that in the background. If you don't have such a big reflector, you can really take a black bed sheet or a black cloth and just tape it in the back and just let it fall. The chair I have is just a regular dining chair, but because it's a little bit modern, what I've done is just put a cloth over it, which is a black in color. We'll see. We might actually take it out, right, Noni? If it doesn't look good, we can always take it out. Yeah. The next thing we are going to talk about is the outfit. Noni wanted me to pick something that is a single tone color and mostly black. She uses a lot of black in her outfits. She also has some gorgeous ones in just plain white. We wanted to use a single solid color in it. I'm wearing a black dress. So the props that we thought about were to use flowers, but it being winter and kind of desolate in my garden, they were very slim pickings, and these are the last of my roses right now that are blooming. These are, most of these actually, apart from the one I lost, you can see the one that I lost and still losing. That one is a David Austin, and that one I think is the Emma? I think it's the Emma. I'll put the name on the screen. The rest of these actually are my Easy Spirit roses. I am in love with this rose. This is like end of December.
That's so pretty.
Look at that. This is so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, they are beautiful. Not as pretty as they look in summer, but hey, we'll take it. Another prop that actually I had to ask Noni about is she gets these beautiful highlights on the skin, whatever skin is exposed. And usually I use, for whenever I do still life shoots with flowers and fruits, and if I'm using flowers, I'll spray it with water. And if I'm using fruits, I will usually use olive oil on it to get that, just that beautiful highlight. Today I don't have a lot, so I thought we could rig this a little bit. I got some olive oil. And have this highlighter. I thought we could mix this to create a DIY highlighter that we can use in the shoot. Would that work, do you think?
Of course, it'll, yeah.
Oil, and I'm just adding a tiny bit of highlighter to it. And this shade is also really pretty. Oh, wow. That looks beautiful. And there's our DIY highlighter. Let's do a test.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's gonna look beautiful on a camera. I feel like my fruit. Yeah, this looks beautiful, look.
Oh, yeah, that glows. Yeah, that's lovely.
So the next thing that we have on the list is the pose. Noni, what are the poses that we can use for this kind of a shoot, and what are we going to do today?
Okay, so for poses, I'd say one of the best references to get an idea how to pose, because all of us, we're not naturally, no one's a model. Even models have to train.
Definitely not me.
So I always do references of different paintings.
Uh-huh.
What you want to do is when you think about how do you want to pose, you can go and look at references of paintings that were done back in the day, and just kind of practice in the mirror even before you even sit down to actually shoot something. Just kind of practice and see what feels comfortable for your body. So say for instance, like today we're going to use a chair. So you can obviously do poses where you want to take your hands to be very relaxed and more artistic. So you can always have your hands like up here or around your face, or something that it's way more artistically gentle.
So gentleness, you need to channel some of the gentleness.
Especially for us as women, the femininity of the pose. So like the hands, if you really look at some of the paintings.
I always like try to do them for, even if I'm using a human element in my still lifes, and it just cramps up the way the way they use them in the paintings.
When you look at paintings of how they were beautifully painted, the hands, just look at it and see how they pose the hands. Something like this, or even when they were holding flowers, it was very delicate.
Yeah, it was like very gentle. You can see these beautiful lines on the fingers and the hands. So definitely a lot of focus on the hands today. What about the rest of the body? The posture that you want to use in the chair?
Me, I just kind of look at to see what feels right.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to sit on a chair, I would see, first of all, your camera. How set apart are you from getting everything in focus? You can see your feet, or is it just going to be like your torso? Really depends on the angle that you want to shoot. I always shoot vertically. Obviously, if you were doing it horizontally, you're going to get more in focus. So I would say like you're at the chair. If you want to do vertically, you can actually sit at the edge of the chair, which creates a longer line for the body.
The pose I was thinking about is to use just a little bit off my shoulder with the dress pulled down just a tiny bit, and then have the flowers in my hands. I'm right at the edge of the seat. Once I put the camera on, I'll have to adjust so that I can see it, which is going to be a challenge in itself because I don't know how I'm going to do that with my Nikon. I can't set it up on a cell phone to be able to click pictures. That is always one of my challenges to shoot self-portraits. So today we are really going old school. We're going to use a timer, and we're going to use a prop to be able to get me in frame. mind. Because of the way I'm shooting today, and it's just going to be me shooting the image, I'm going to shoot this image with a much higher depth of field, not a really low depth of field. I think we might shoot anywhere from like f11 to f14 rather than go on f2.8. One, it is in focus and we have a little bit larger margin of error because you don't have to be in that sliver of a focus. This is also because my own camera doesn't do autofocus really well. I'm using the Nikon D810. I have to ask Noni, and it depends on where we want the camera to be, but the two lenses I had thought about were the Sigma 50mm Art Series lens or my macro 105mm. And both Noni and I love our macros. For the self-portrait, I don't know, maybe the 50mm might be a better idea. We can try both and see which one works. What are the apertures that you usually shoot at?
If I'm doing self-portraits, I like to shoot anywhere between 5.6 to f11, and I don't usually go higher than that. This spot for me, if it's gonna be, if I want something really in focus, it's probably around 8.
8, okay, so that helps. I am going to shut this light off. There's the light behind us, which has been lighting me, but it's still kind of dark right now. So I'm going to shut this light off so we just get the natural light in, and I might also use something to prop this in, so it's actually just a sliver of light coming in. So let's do that. Let's set that up. That might work. Here we go. Not the most prettiest, but hey.
Hey, you know?
It works.
Yep.
I'm just using my light stand to convert it into a camera tripod so I can set up my Nikon on this one. Okay, let's try both. Let's try the 105 first. I have a 105 already set up on this. So let's try the 105 first and see how the shot looks like. Might move it a little bit back. Actually, I might actually keep the angle this way because then we can just get a portion of it. I'm here in the chair. How do you want me to pose, Noni?
So just kind of lean a little bit further out of the chair so you can create a nice line. Okay.
Okay.
Now you mentioned you wanted to get the flowers, correct?
Yes.
You just want a few of them, or you just want one as the star?
We can just do one as a star.
Yeah. Then pick your favorite one.
Maybe this one.
The famous one that they have where they have it off to the side. And I know since you want to show your shoulders some, you can kind of show that off to the side.
Let's do a trial one so we can then put the highlighter on.
Push your hair back because you want to show your shoulder and the skin.
This way?
Yeah.
This is what we need? Mm-hmm. An angle.
Just like that, or almost like you're embracing it.
Like that?
Yeah, just your one precious rose.
The shape of my neck?
Let's just see if you just relax and just holding that rose, see how that looks in the camera.
All right, let's do a test shot. I am moving the camera settings to manual because I don't want it to touch the focus, and now do the test shot. Where would you like me to highlight it? Just
right there on your shoulder. So all of this and then up to where your collarbone is.
like I'm painting myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that looks so pretty. The highlights, it looks so pretty. And then also your hands, because I'll be holding the rose, yeah.
Shut this light off. This is gonna be very hard to focus. Oh yeah, it's not focusing on it. So Noni, you want to walk us through how we focus? Because we went old school on this one. There was no autofocus. It was shot in manual focus and also with no Wi-Fi. So we couldn't actually use any of our apps. Nothing worked. It was not tethered. We were thinking about tethering it, right, Noni? We thought about tethering it. But then Noni came up with the idea that we should actually use a vase. And that turned out brilliant.
Yeah.
We tried using a tripod before, but the tripod was way too far back from where I was sitting. So I needed something that would be in my position rather than on the edge of the seat. We wanted the body to be straight or a little bit turned forward as if it was more vulnerable and more feminine. In an artistic image, I try not to create too many harsh angles. Right, Noni?
Yes.
Isn't that how you do it too? Yeah, I want to create a little bit of a curve. And Noni is going to walk us through how we actually focused on the vase itself. So Noni, can you walk us through that?
Sure. So if you are going old school and you don't have Wi-Fi, and what you can do is take something like a vase. So we used a chair for this setup. You can actually take a vase, plant it exactly where your body's going to be, and make sure that it's going to be on an even plane, so nothing will be out of focus. So you want it to be equal on equal plane across in one singular line. Then you can take that big vase or whatever, put it on that chair, run back to your camera, and then you want to focus on that vase. And then if you have a timer or whatever, hit that timer button, run back over there, throw that vase on the ground. And then
we did all of that.
Yeah, so that's going old school, is just taking a nice object that will sit in your place so that you can focus on that, and then you shoot the picture.
Nope. Create this angle. I think I'm looking down. So rather than look down, I want to look up so I can create that angle.
Look up, and then you can also look
up and that way.
Yeah.
So basically smooth this skin out. Otherwise it'll just, if you look down, it's going to give you a double chin. And if you try to stretch the neck a little bit, it'll give you that nice angle. And then try to move this shoulder back.
Yeah.
This is going to be so awkward to sit up, but we'll try. Ugh, that stretched me quite a bit.
When you're holding a rose, and we're just using a rose because that's what we did today, you can kind of anchor your hand to actually hold the rose and keeping your hands very, very loose. So that way it creates a nice line. So the way that you were posing with it, you were doing it very similar to like over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have a nice free hand here, that your hand is loose, it's not cramping up or anything like that. And then that way it creates a nice line when you're going across, or I think I was using this hand.
So the one thing we've noticed in our previous images is when I was posing with the rose, I was using my right shoulder with the right hand because I thought it would look nice this way. The way the camera was capturing the hand, it just looked awkward and cramped. Yeah. While Noni was walking me through the posing, one thing I noticed was she was using opposite hand while I was using the same hand. So I changed the pose to my opposite hand, which made the lines look a lot better and it made the image flow a lot better. Right, Noni?
Yeah.
So just to reiterate the equipment that we had, I was shooting on my Nikon D810 with the Nikon macro lens, 105mm. So I had to push it way far back. Here's how the entire room looks like. The camera is pushed up really far behind. If you don't have this much space in your house, I would suggest using a 50mm or a 35mm because that way then you can bring the camera a lot closer, right, Noni?
That's correct.
But if you do have some space, if there's a passageway that you can push the camera back in, try to use 85 or 105mm because the compression is just gorgeous. It looks beautiful.
Also a tip, if you're by yourself and it's old school and you don't have anything to Wi-Fi or tether to so you can physically see, if you have a large mirror, you can actually place that mirror right behind the tripod so you can physically see yourself.
That's a great tip.
And that way you'll kind of know. So that's another trick to use.
That's a really good tip. That's a wrap. And thank you so much everyone for joining me today. Hope you had fun today. Create something wonderful, tag us in it, and have an amazing, amazing day. Bye-bye.